Okay. Mhm. I didn't realize till afterward, but we had some people who had difficulty getting on last time, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll email me if they do. I will stay focused and continue to let them in the lobby. But we're a couple of minutes after, so let's go ahead and get started because I know that Heather and has a lot to cover with y'all today. And as I was just saying to Denise, it's going to be really, really exciting, good stuff that I think y'all are going to be so pleased about. Our old way of doing things is about to fall away, and it's gonna make your lives so much easier. It will also make it very important that you stay in close touch with Heather and her team if you have any changes. Just to kind of um, state that the eligibility itself has not changed. What's changed is your ability to get in the program and be in the program and for the term of the 10 years that you're eligible. So that's the part that's going to get better. The eligibility requirements are exactly the same. So in that sense, it's really, really good. And the things that kick you out, of the program before are the same things that will kick you out of the program now. And it's going to be really important that you communicate that to Heather and her team because and she'll talk about this in great detail, but we'll be paying your loan servicer directly instead of paying you. So it's going to be a lot harder if we have an overpayment for y'all to kind of, you're not going to get cash in hand that we've overpaid you. So she'll talk about that. We've worked with Heather for a long time, and she is just such an exceptional person in just as a person. She cares so much about this work, and she's really the expert in the country. And so she'll share with you her experience and about her team and about what we're going to be doing. So Heather, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Super. Thank you so much, Lisa. And I'm delighted to see so many folks here today. So my name is Heather Jarvis. As Lisa mentioned, I am a public interest lawyer like all or so many of you, and have been focused on student debt relief programs, including the Federal Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program since before it was a thing. In fact, I got my start in the student loan world anyway, working at Equal Justice Works on some of the lobbying efforts around public service loan forgiveness and some of the income-driven repayment plans that have been around for a long time now. So, um, my nonprofit, I work with a nonprofit organization called Foster Us. Foster Us, we just made up that word. So that's why, you might be like, what does that mean? Nothing really, it's just a word. So we are delighted to be collaborating with the Texas Access to Justice Foundation to help them administer
I'm on a
the
webinar.
loan repayment assistance program.
I don't, no, my camera's off.
And I think some folks maybe aren't on mute. I'm not sure if Lisa can do it across. There we go. Cool. So we are wanting to let you know about some new procedures for enrolling in the loan repayment assistance program. And in the past, you maybe were accustomed to having to apply for benefits and to having to apply periodically. And what we're doing going forward is going to be more of an enrollment than an application. So we will be notified by your employer organizations that you meet the basic eligibility requirements for the loan repayment assistance program. And I'll show you a couple of slides about how that works just so you're in the loop. But essentially, you know, as Lisa said in our introduction, the program requirements are the same. You must be an attorney and you must be earning less than or $80,000 or less. And so if you're working for a grantee organization of the foundation, then you meet those basic eligibility requirements. We already will have that information from your employer, and then we'll invite you to enroll in the program. So let me just share my screen here and show you guys a couple of things, and then we'll go through, and I would be absolutely happy to take whatever questions you have as well. So let me just make sure that I'm showing what I want to show as opposed to anything else. Okay, so that should be the slideshow there that you can see. So what's going to happen is this. If you have previously participated in the Texas Access to Justice Foundation's Loan Repayment Assistance Program, then you will get an email from the Foster Us system. It'll be an automated email that asks that you verify your email address. If you are new to the Loan Repayment Assistance Program, you'll want to reach out to the LRAP designated contact at the organization for which you work. And each organization has their own contact. If you're not sure who it is, you can contact me at lrapsupport@fosterus.org. I put that in the chat a little bit ago. So you can contact me and I'll tell you who your employer's LRAP designated contact is. And that person will report your work email address to us. So once we know who you are, we will send you this invitation to enroll. And these invitations are going to go out early in May. And you'll get that email and begin by clicking to verify that yes, indeed, this is you. You got the email. And once you do that, clicking on that email, a second email is generated from our system that will be sent to you via a second email message. Now, we have asked your employer organizations to put our URLs and IP addresses and email addresses on your safe sender lists to make sure that we don't go to spam. That said, because our emails are machine generated, they do look very spammy to filters. And so if you don't see it, check your junk folder first. And then, of course, certainly reach out to me and us at lrapsupport@fosterus.org, and we can do some investigating as well. But the first thing we'll always do if you don't get the email from us is to ask that you check with your IT folks to see if we might be in some type of quarantine for the email. So once you get your password via that email, then you're going to be able to enroll via a online platform. And it is going to be easier for you than it has been in the past. So you aren't going to be required to sign paper forms. And we're going to be able to verify your student loan accounts by having you give us permission to see that data. You've done that in the past, but you've done it in a more manual function. So we'll have you enroll via this portal, and your username is going to be your work email address, and your password will be that generated password that you'll receive by email. We'll be, providing support for you and for the contact individual at your organization as well. So if you have questions or bumps along the way, just let us know. What your organization will be doing is reviewing a list of its eligible employees. Again, we've pre-populated the current participants in the program. So if you've participated this most recent go round, you'll already be there and you should be automatically getting this email invitation in the first week of May. Now, if you have not participated, your employer will be able to log in to the employer part of the panel and upload your name to their system. And then once that happens, you will go with your work email address and password and log into the platform. This is what it looks like, and I will say it's not quite as beautiful or smooth as some of the e-commerce sites that you may be used to. It's something that we programmed and created in order for it to allow these loan repayment assistance programs to be more functional and allow the funds to get where they need to go. So what you're going to see is this kind of taupe looking bar with these buttons, and there's several steps. So when you first get there, you'll already be recorded as eligible because you will have verified your email address, which is what causes that first thing to occur. And then you're going to link your loan accounts, and that's the first step that you go through. You'll input some basic information in order for the tech to do its thing and import your data. That is changing slightly over the next couple of weeks. And so I'll have some more screenshots and things that I can distribute to you as soon as this change is made. But at the moment, and you may have noticed this, all of the student loan servicing companies are moving their operations to .gov URLs, and there's a lot of volatility in the system right now. So our loan linking is having to adapt on the fly to that reality, and that's what we're doing. So then what you'll do is you'll preview a master promissory note, and we'll talk some more about that in just a moment. This is very similar to a promissory note you would have signed in the past if you participated in the past. And you may be aware that the reason we structure things this way is to be able to provide these benefits to you without you having to pay tax on the awarded amount. And so the promissory note serves as essentially a sort of micro refinancing of your existing student loan debt, because we can't, nor can the foundation, forgive debt that you don't owe to foster us or to the foundation. And so, if you owe money to the federal government, we are going to issue a promissory note for the amount of your LRAP award, so that you can later have that LRAP loan forgiven and not have to pay tax on that. If we could just forgive the debt directly, we would, but again, that's necessary. Oops, sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So then the fourth step is going to be called loans and awards, and I'm going to show you a little more of how this all looks. And that's where you can give us some instructions about which loans you want your LRAP award to go to. Now, because the Foundation's Loan Repayment Assistance Program gives you an award amount that is identical to the amount of your scheduled monthly payment, unless your scheduled monthly payment is higher than the maximum. So the award amount is the amount that you're scheduled to pay towards your loans, or $500 per month, whichever is less. So in some cases, you may have a payment due that is greater than $500 a month, in which case this gives you an opportunity to tell us where you want the foundation's money to go. And we will give those instructions to your loan servicer and then send the money directly to your loan servicer. The last little bubble there, bubble 5, is a statement that updates only after we send the first disbursement to your loans. And then you see it populate there on the statement. And then each month we send money to your loans, and you see the amount we sent populate then on the statement. So right now, our little sort of widget for linking your loans looks like this. As I mentioned, this is changing even as we speak. It will be very similar. Our tech partner is an entity known as Pay It Off. So you will not link directly to. It will be slightly different, but it'll be very, very similar to this. So you will essentially input information that we do not capture or maintain, but that the computer uses to call an API and bring in information about your loans. So the promissory note that we use, again, is quite similar to what you would expect and what you may have seen with regard to a loan repayment assistance program in the past. And this note is a real and binding legal document. It is a bona fide loan. However, it is intended to be forgiven. And so it is important that you read it, understand it, and are comfortable with it before you sign it. And I will say that, as Lisa said, it's very important to us that we not transmit money to your loan servicers that you are not eligible to receive, because we really don't want to put you in a position where you would be required to repay money that you never even saw, but that was sent to your loan servicer. And that's one of the reasons that we issue disbursements on a monthly basis after having your eligibility confirmed by your employer. We issue 1 month's worth of an award so that we're limiting the possibility of you getting more money than you quote unquote should. But as long as you tell us right away if you're no longer eligible, then we have these safeguards in place to try to make sure that we don't send money that you're not eligible for. And really, the things that can cause you to become ineligible are if you leave your employment with a qualified Texas public interest employer from the list of grantee organizations, or what is more likely, or not more likely, but one thing that does happen and can happen is that your salary may go up and exceed the cap that is in place. So if you start earning more than 80,000, you'll need to let us know that. We do also ask your employer to let us know that. So hopefully we'll get that information quickly enough to prevent any further disbursements. And that's the way that is set up. So once you get a chance to fully read that promissory note, and get any questions answered that you may have, you'll be asked to sign, and you just use your mouse to put a signature in this box. And you'll be asked to optionally give some demographic information like your veteran status, gender, ethnicity, and race. You can select from these drop-down menus. One of the choices on the drop-down menu is that you prefer not to disclose that information. If you are comfortable disclosing the information, I encourage you, I would, to provide it. It helps with fundraising efforts for these sorts of programs to demonstrate their impact. But if you're not comfortable, by all means, choose not disclosed. That's fine as well. And it's possible that if you do like just a couple of loops on the signature panel, that you'll get an error, a warning message that says, oh, that's not your proper signature. It has something to do with like the number of peaks and valleys or something. So give it another try and it should work. Click accept. And then that will generate a signed promissory note, which will serve as the vehicle for your future disbursements. Now, after you sign your note, you go on to the fourth step of this sort of allocation, as I mentioned. And as you know, many of us attorneys have lots of different loans. So for the most part, what you would probably do is look at where it says monthly, the column that's there in blue, and that will reflect what is being reported to us as your required monthly payment on your loan or your scheduled monthly payment. And that will be the same as your LRAP award unless it's greater, unless it adds up to more than $500, in which case it will be different. And so you will carry those numbers over into the right column and then click Save at the bottom. If your award is lower than your payment, so if 500 doesn't fully cover your payment, what you probably want to do, but it's not the only thing you could do, is just put the $500 towards one of the higher interest rate loans you have and click Save. It's not really necessary that you break it all down by these individual loans. We just want to give you the opportunity to provide these instructions to your loan servicer. Now that said, we transmit these instructions to the loan servicers, but I probably don't have to tell you that the loan servicers are not always entirely reliable, and there are lots of rules about how a payment is going to be allocated between your loans. Some of them flow from the Higher Education Act, others of them flow based on your relative payments due, and others still based on when you made your last payment, if at all, and when our payment is received. So you'll get a little pop-up box after you click save that says saved and success, you've completed the enrollment process. But then you'll get this little sort of caveat that says that the payment instructions may be aggregated to meet the servicer requirements. And what that means is that these are instructions we provide to the servicer. The servicer may lump these instructions together based on their own internal processes or grouping of loans. And so you'll want to keep an eye on that. And then after payments start getting sent, you will be able to view these updated disclosure statements, which will show when we sent funds to your loan servicer, and you'll see those update. We send money around the 20th of each month, and they typically post around by the end of the first week of the next month. So if we send money, for example, if we sent money on a January 20th, it would usually be credited to your accounts by around February 7th, often significantly earlier, but sometimes later. And so, do keep an eye on your own accounts with your servicer to see sort of what that cadence is. You'll have somewhat more visibility than we do in that regard. And so, yeah, I would love to just turn to your questions. And I see that there are some in the chat. It may be that Lisa has been handling those partly. Let me just take
I
a
think I
look.
have. Those are
Okay,
kind of
great.
specific to
Okay.
TAGF requirements.
Okay,
And I
cool.
believe I have. There's one thing that I want to point out that has not changed, but may not be as regularly clear through the process that you're about to engage in with Foster Us as it was when you were working directly with TAGF. And that is that, first of all, we want to know about all of your student debt. You can't pick and choose which student debt to tell us about. We need to know about all of it. And we need to know that you're not in default or deferment on any of it in order to be accepted into the Texas LRAP. So just to be clear, we want Heather's team to be able to see all the debt when you start allocating, whatever we don't give you enough to cover, obviously you're going to have to cover, and it could be you have another LRAP or something, a law school LRAP or an employer LRAP, whatever. But that's kind of um, that's the way our program's structured.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Barbara's asking, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Valerie.
I was just going to ask, like, I missed the first like 5 minutes of this, but so I was wondering though, okay, I'm on the new SAVE plan that came up this year. So since I'm on that, like, let's say I join this and then you guys start making these payments and that's great. But then what if something happens if for some reason I can't be on this anymore, like any of the reasons you mentioned, right? And then I'm not on this program anymore. Like, can I still go back? Can I still be on the SAVE plan? It's not going to like mess up my plan for like how, my repayment plan with the government, right?
No, not at all. So maybe I think that's a good question, Valerie, and let me start just in case, because I think that there's a lot of people, and I know Lisa and I are both finding this, so a lot of folks have been graduating while COVID happened and student loans were on pause, right? So that sort of changed a lot of the cadence and stuff that folks used to be used to. When you have student loans, you have to choose a repayment plan if you have federal student loans. And the SAVE plan is one of the best ones we've seen. It's a good option for a lot of people. It has a lot of benefits like interest accrual benefits. It is eligible for you to use to progress towards public service loan forgiveness. And so you will continue to be able to and responsible for managing your student loans, including choosing a repayment plan that you can afford, taking the steps necessary to benefit from, for example, public service loan forgiveness. And we at Foster Us and the foundation, we're not going to do anything to make that not possible or harder for you. We're helping by making your payments for you while you're eligible to receive this funding. But it isn't necessarily going to be on exactly the same schedule as your monthly payment. So some people have monthly payment due dates on every day of the month, and we send money once a month and is received by the loan servicers once a month. So some folks choose to request like a payment due date change, which you can ask your servicer for to have your due date closer to the middle of the month, for example, and that will that's probably a good idea. But when it comes to things like, what repayment plan am I in, what amount am I required to pay, all those kinds of things are stuff we can point you towards the official sources of information about and help guide your decision making. But yeah, the loan repayment assistance program is really very separate from the federal system itself.
So it's just making the payments like for me. And then is there any other benefit to being in it? I mean, that's a great benefit. I'm like, that's enough. But I mean, is there any other benefit? Just curious.
Well, I mean, I think that that's the primary benefit of a loan repayment assistance program is to assist you in making your loan payments. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and Heather, we have a couple of questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
No,
were
please
finished.
go ahead, Lisa. I was finished.
Well, we have a couple of questions that I'm not sure I can answer. Does designated contact at the employer filling out the LRAP eligibility file? Oh, does the designated contact from the employer fill out the eligibility file? Do they?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
They
Monthly.
do. Yes, they do. And I sent, to the extent that some of the contacts are with us today, I sent, and you should have received from me yesterday, each organization's first eligibility file. And on that eligibility file is your login information for the portal. So if you are an employer LRAP contact, and you have not got that message from me, hit me up, lrapsupport@fosterus.org, and I will resend it or make sure I sent it to the right email address or see whatever, but you should have that. And so the attorneys don't have to fill that out. It's possible that if you don't get an email from Fosterus, it's because your employer didn't list you on that yet. So if you can say to your employer, hey, put me on the list, put me on the eligibility file.
And I have a question here about what if I'm currently in deferment, then do I go ahead and enroll? And what I'm saying is, no, you would wait until you're no longer in deferment. And then I was asked whether deadlines to enroll would be missed. And now you can enroll at any point. That it's an ongoing rolling enrollment. So you do not have to worry about any deadlines with regard to getting in the program. You just wait until all of your eligibility check marks are in place, and then you're in the program until one of those check marks is gone and you are no longer eligible. And that is when you and your employer would let Heather's team know that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And there's a
So
question about public service loan forgiveness. What I'm
yeah,
understanding, I don't understand that question, so that's going
yeah.
to take your expertise.
So I think that sometimes it's very confusing sometimes to talk about student loans and what's what. So PSLF stands for Public Service Loan Forgiveness. I know a lot about that, so does Lisa, but it's not directly connected to the Loan Repayment Assistance Program or what we're doing or talking about today. PSLF is a federal loan forgiveness program that student loan borrowers can earn after making 120 qualifying payments over 10 years. What we can do is that the loan repayment assistance program is going to be helping you make payments if you're an attorney. They may cover your full payment, they may not. But to the extent that the LRAP makes payments, that those can be eligible for to help you progress towards forgiveness for the federal program. But the question regarding PSLF is you know tricky to answer because PSLF is not an entity and we are not them. So if that doesn't clear it up, let me know. So we are having those questions about forbearance and deferment. So forbearance and deferment are two different terms that stand for a status on a loan, which means that you've borrowed a student loan, but no payments are presently required. So under the LRAP, a payment has to be presently required. Your loans have to be in a repayment status before you can receive any benefits. So if your loans are in a forbearance, you have no amount due. And so it's not
Nope.
that the loan is ineligible or that you are ineligible, it's that no award it will be issued. So you can wait until payments are due on your loans, and we will wait until payments are due on your loans to start sending money to your loans. Now, there are a couple of weird circumstances going on now. So I'll tell you that if your loan servicer, like Mohila, put your loans into a forbearance status because they have had trouble figuring out, or processing your repayment application, for example, you can choose to contact your loan servicing company and say, hey, I don't want this forbearance. I'm ready to start making payments. I'm working for a public interest employer in Texas. I've got access to this program. So let me enroll in a repayment plan, for example. And once you do that, then you can enroll in the LRAP. Now, a deferment there are some deferments that are that you can get out of, but only deferments that you requested. So a deferment and a forbearance are very similar, but have slight nuanced differences. If you are in school full time, and your loans are in an in-school deferment status, then you won't be able to stop that. No payments will be due, and you won't be able to get an LRAP award. But if you're in a forbearance, you should be able to request to get out of the forbearance. If you're in a grace period, which is another period where no payments are due, this is the period for 6 months after you graduate, you also are not yet qualified for an award under the LRAP. So you have to choose a repayment plan and get the note from your servicer that says, okay, you're enrolled in the SAVE plan and your monthly payment is $100 a month, for example. then enroll in the LRAP, and the foundation will pay $100 to your loan servicer, based on that being what's due. So that, I hope that clears that up some.
And that may be important to mention, Heather, is the one thing that I think will be changing that has not necessarily been the case before is that we will require that you be in some payment plan, income-based payment plan. Am I characterizing that correctly, Heather?
So you do have to be enrolled in a repayment plan. It's not required that you be in an income-driven repayment plan, but most people are going to be better off in an income-driven repayment plan. And the cap on the LRAP means that for a typical law graduate is not going to be able to a typical law graduate is not going to be able to afford the standard payment for a general amount of debt. So there is not presently in the LRAP a requirement that you enroll in a specific repayment plan.
Right. There's not currently in our, that's right. Yeah. But we did discuss, you and I discussed that we would move to.
We have discussed
So we'll discuss
that.
that further and let you know.
And we'll
if that
discuss that
changes.
further and let you know.
And
Yes.
we'll let you know because it does benefit you. I mean,
It
if you're
does.
going to stay in, if you're going to stay in public service for 10 years, which is obviously our goal, part of it in offering this. I mean, we are hoping to, um, when the board created this program, they were hoping that we would be attracting persons who wanted to be in public interest law but couldn't afford to because of the terrible debt, that we would get them in and that they would want to stay and that they would stay and this would be their career. So that is, of course, our goal. Now, that doesn't mean it happens all the time. Of course it doesn't. Because people find that it's not their thing. But for those of you who want to, then you will get the assistance monthly. It will count against your public service loan forgiveness that the federal government offers. And so the less you pay based on your income, the greater benefit we can have across the board in providing this service to other lawyers in Texas. So that's the goal. And if someone says, you know what, no, I really feel strongly that I really want to pay off my loan. I took out this debt and now I want to pay it off. And we say, hey, that's great. But the portion that TAGF is going to pay is this, and this is the limit. And then beyond that, I'm sorry, somebody is not muted. And there's so many of you that it would be hard for me to maybe find out who that is at this moment. I think you muted yourself. So that's kind of the thing. It's our goal that you will get into income-driven repayment.
So that actually made me think of another question. So if it pays up to a certain amount, like let's say my payment is like 300 something per month, and then it'll pay that amount, right? Because that's the lower other than 500, right? So it pays that amount. But then what if I decide, hey, I have an extra $100 this month. I just want to throw an extra $100 towards my loan. Can I still do that?
Sure.
So that wouldn't affect, it wouldn't then take away 100 from what you guys gave, right?
It would not. No.
I can just put extra if I feel like it. Okay.
You can. Yep.
If you feel like it. If you thought to yourself, you know what? I really think I'll only stay in public interest about 5 years. And so while I'm at this, I want to keep winnowing down that debt or whatever, for whatever reason you have for wanting to bring that debt down. Yeah. I mean, they won't get in a pay-to-head status, will they, Heather?
So there used to be something called pay-to-head status, which, I mean, there still is something called pay-to-head status. Pay-to-head status is confusing and has been confusing and problematic, but it's not as problematic as it used to be, Lisa. So if you pay an amount that covers more than one monthly payment, so let's say, your payment due is only $100 a month, Texas Access to Justice Foundation pays $100 and you also pay $100. unless you direct your loan servicer otherwise, they are going to say that the one of those payments covered the next payment. But that won't prevent you from progressing towards public service loan forgiveness like it used to. And it also won't prevent you from receiving additional LRAP funds in the following month. So we've determined that the loan repayment assistance program is going to be based on your scheduled monthly payment. So you're going to have the same scheduled monthly payment under the SAVE plan for 1 year until your income goes up, hopefully, or changes, at which point they will adjust your scheduled monthly payment. So paid ahead status is still a thing, but it's not a problem for the LRAP or for PSLF the way it once was.
So I guess like if I were to, like, let's say somebody's payment is $100 and the SLRAP pays like the $100 and then they pay another $100 and then they keep doing that every month, they would get like many, many months ahead. But it wouldn't affect anything like, because there would,
So you could get up to 12 months ahead is the way the rules work now, is they will not they won't do that more than 1 year or until the anniversary date of your income driven repayment plan, like the SAVE plan, whichever one comes first. So the length of that paid ahead status is going to depend on your circumstances. But it doesn't, there's no harm in that. Is what I'm saying to you. There's also no benefit to you. You're not going to get forgiveness any quicker by making double payments.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I had a question. If let's say that we don't qualify for this anymore, I just had some questions about the PSLF. Where can we go for information on that? I know that there's a deadline coming up.
So the deadline that's coming up regarding PSLF has to do with folks that have older student loans from the previous program, Federal Family Education Loans. So if your federal loans are already direct loans, you are not subject to this deadline. So the deadline at the end of April is to file an application to consolidate and preserve all the credit on underlying loans, all the credit towards forgiveness. So so more information on that and the deadline, the best place for it is at studentaid.gov. That's the official United States Department of Education website. I recommend that you go to studentaid.gov, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the home page, all the way down to the bottom of the landing page, where you'll see announcements, and then click to view all the announcements and scroll to the IDR account adjustment, income driven repayment account adjustment, IDR account adjustment. There's lots of FAQs there and details. But the short answer is that there are initiatives that are being implemented now by the administration that are taking a long time to complete because of the volume in the system. And so these adjustments are happening over the coming months, and the deadline is mainly for people with older student loans.
Do you think that I'm not sure like how to figure out if my loans are older or would it be something you think if I called the server they would be able to tell me?
What loan servicer do you have?
Nelnet.
Yeah, potentially they could. Did you borrow any federal student loans before the summer of 2010?
No.
So it's probably not anything that you need to worry too much about. I wish that I could, review everyone's individual circumstances. You should definitely contact your servicer, read through the stuff on studentaid.gov, get a clear inventory of your student loans at studentaid.gov. And that's a starting place. There are some professionals that you can hire to assist you with your personal circumstances, but many financial advisors are not well versed in student loan law, so you'll want to be cautious about how you do that. You can contact the loan servicer. You may also want to reach out to the financial aid administrator at your law school, and they may be able to help you some as well. Unfortunately, you will find the student loan system is very cumbersome and complicated and not particularly user friendly. And there aren't ideal sources of assistance. It's mainly a self-help kind of a situation.
Got you. Thank you so
But-
much.
Sure.
And let me say that I think Heather's trying very hard to walk a very fine line and be and not be soliciting business on her other side. But if you go to askheatherjarvis.com, you will see that she is someone who is outstanding at providing this kind of support and would be a good person to engage for an hour to talk about your work. I assume you're still doing that on the other side, Heather, correct? Maybe.
I am more training others.
Okay.
So, and I appreciate that, Lisa. So I make myself available to student loan borrowers by hire from their employers or their professional associations or their universities.
Okay.
I don't make myself available to be hired directly by you, but I do teach other people who do that business. So I would suggest that you look for somebody who is a certified student loan professional, a CSLP. I said planner, but I should have said professional. Those folks have completed a rigorous course of study and have passed a test on the new rules that we designed. So I think if you're looking, Alexandria, for somebody to hire, that's going to be your best bet for that. I am also happy to, and I know Lisa will do this, I am happy to schedule, and I know the foundation will sponsor it and make it available to you guys, a full hour that is like, a primer on your student loans, PSLF, what you need to know and how to go about it, because there is a lot to know, and so I feel like that would be helpful, and I'd be glad to do it.
It would be, and we should maybe start there. And then if we decide that we need some more intensive, we have in the past had Heather we've hired Heather to do for LRAP recipients some one-on-one sessions. So we could at least see so we could see if that was something that was needed. But I think the webinar that she does is outstanding. So maybe we'll set that up.
Do you guys, last question, I promise. Do you guys have a list of this CSLPs that would be recommended?
I do, yes. If you shoot me an email, I'm Heather at fosterus.org. Shoot me an email. I put it in the chat, and I'll send you the link to where there's a whole directory, so you can find someone who is near you, or who you can interview a few different folks until you find the person that you want.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Of course.
So I see that we have a question about whether to qualify for the program. We will get another email to apply for the program after May 1st. And it is so confusing because we for so long had an application process, but we will no longer have an application process. It will be an enrollment process. And yes, I believe you will get an email from Heather's group, Foster Us, after the 1st to enroll in the program.
That is correct. And Christina, if you have not previously participated in the loan repayment assistance program, you haven't, then we do want to make sure that your organization has submitted your name. So Valerie's asking us the same related to Christina's question is how will we distribute the LRAP contacts from each organization? we can certainly send it. It's easy enough to send it to all of the existing participants. We just don't, we're not normally in touch. We're not in touch with all the attorneys at every organization unless they've previously interacted with the foundation or with Foster Us. So it's a little, we could ask the contacts at each organization to send an email to all their attorneys that says, "Hey, I'm the LRAP designated contact at your
Yes.
organization." That's
We can do
probably
that.
what we need to do.
We can do that. And you probably heard from, because when I sent out the information about the webinars, or about, these sessions, and about this new process change, I did ask the LRAP designated contact. So if you've heard from anybody in your office, chances are that is the LRAP designated contact. But we will send out an email to them asking, I will do that. I will send out an email to them asking them to make that well known, and possibly even posting something on a bulletin board in the break room or something like that, so that everybody can easily identify that person. It's going to be somebody in HR. I mean, typically, unless it's a really small organization, I think I have in 1 or 2 situations, it's actually the executive director, but mostly it's going to be someone in HR, I think. Okay. Is there anything else that we have not covered, or questions that you have that I would love to kind of know how many folks think that they could benefit from, if you could raise your hand, if you think you would benefit from a webinar, from us doing a webinar. We've done a bunch of them, so I feel like we're probably gonna, okay, yeah, it looks like a lot of people would. Okay, well, we will pull one of those together. Maybe, what do
Yeah.
you think would be advantageous for your process? Mid-May, maybe? Or
Yeah,
May?
that sounds, yeah, anytime in
Mid-May?
May, I think would be great. Mid-May would be perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll cover, all the student loan stuff, because I know there's a lot of questions, and, it makes sense that folks would have some questions with as much change as has gone on in the recent months and
Right.
years.
I'm trying to think if we have one in the can that we could make available to them now, that we did, kind of the last one we did. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
we may. I mean, we certainly, yeah, I probably might have one that's even newer that I'll look at that.
Okay.
We'll communicate about that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Yep,
righty.
absolutely. So awesome. Well, thanks everybody for attending and for your interest and for your public service.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather. Thanks, everybody. Talk soon. Bye-bye.